people their transgressions, and the house of Jacob their sin. Cast ye up, prepare the way, take up the stumbling block from the way of my people. For thus saith the high and lofty one that inhabiteth eternity, whose name is holy. I dwell in the high and holy place, with him also that is of a contrite and humble spirit, to revive the spirit of the humble, to revive the heart of the contrite ones. For I will not contend forever, neither will I always be wroth, for the spirit should fail before me. Cast ye up, cast ye up.
Okay. Hello, good morning, welcome to Line by Line Bible Studies. Wrong headset on. Okay. We're continuing today in the book of Isaiah chapter 57, we're at verse 15. And we're going to still take up all the verses previous to read it in context. I like doing that. The righteous perisheth, and no man layeth it to heart. And merciful men are taken away, none considering that the righteous is taken away from the evil to come. He shall enter into peace. They shall rest in their beds, each one walking in his uprightness. But draw near hither, ye sons of the sorceress, the seed of the adulterer and the whore. Against whom do ye sport yourselves? Against whom make ye a wide mouth, and draw out the tongue? Are not ye children of transgression, a seed of falsehood, inflaming yourselves with idols under every green tree, slaying the children in the valleys under the cliffs of the rocks? Among the smooth stones of the stream is thy portion. They are thy lot. Even to them hast thou poured out a drink offering. Thou hast offered a meat offering. Should I receive comfort in these? Upon a lofty and high mountain hast thou set thy bed. Even thither wentest thou up to offer sacrifice. Hold on a second. Behind the doors also, and the posts, hast thou set up thy remembrance. For thou hast discovered thyself to another than me, and art gone up. Thou hast enlarged thy bed, and made thee a covenant with them. Thou lovest their bed where thou sawest it. And thou wentest to the king with ointment, and didst increase thy perfumes, and didst send thy messengers far off, and didst debase thyself even unto hell. Thou art wearied in the greatness of thy way, yet saidst thou not, there is no hope. Thou hast found the life of thine hand, therefore thou wast not grieved. And of whom hast thou been afraid or feared, that thou hast lied, and hast not remembered me, nor laid it to thy heart? Have not I held my peace, even of old, and thou fearest me not? I will declare thy righteousness and thy works, for they shall not profit thee. When thou criest, let thy companies deliver thee, but the wind shall carry them all away, vanity shall take them. But he that putteth his trust in me shall possess the land, and shall inherit my holy mountain, and shall say, cast ye up, prepare the way. Take up the stumbling block out of the way of my people. For thus saith the high and lofty one that inhabiteth eternity, whose name is holy. I dwell in the high and holy place, with him also that is of a contrite and humble spirit, to revive the spirit of the humble, and to revive the heart of the contrite ones. For I will not contend forever, neither will I always be wroth. For the spirit should fail before me, and the souls which I have made. For the iniquity of his covetousness was I wroth, and smote him. I hid me, and was wroth, and he went on frowardly in the way of his heart. I have seen his ways, and will heal him. I will lead him also, and restore comforts unto him and to his mourners. I create the fruit of the lips. Peace, peace to him that is far off, and to him that is near, saith the Lord, and I will heal him. But the wicked are like the troubled sea when it cannot rest, whose waters cast up mire and dirt. There is no peace, saith my God, to the wicked. There seems to be a theme here that, the righteous may know difficulty, but the ultimate aim of God is not to punish them. It's like that's the wicked have no peace. The righteous have peace in the grave. And because and the implication is from thence God shall judge. Not only him, but like in a sense, the way I feel about the way that from Isaiah's perspective, the people, the remain of Jacob, they were part of that society. In some ways they bear I've talked about this in terms of our current situation. It's like people are making decisions that many of us may oppose, but we're all going to suffer the consequences of. We will all be smitten for the foolishness of our leaders. Because in some ways, it's like it's built into the world. When the society goes astray, weakness enters into it, vulnerability, in many various ways. Not just I'm not even militarily, but also economically, socially. All kinds of things weaken and begin to break. And there was something about the last time we were. There was a particular. I just. Thou hast found the life of thy hand. In terms of what idolatry really kind of means, and it always means the works of my hands. Because an idol is something made with the works of your hands. Even if you don't make it yourself, if you're paying someone else to make your idol for you, that's just a transfer of the value of the work of your hands otherwise. You're just taking the work you've done and traded in for some other, for money, valuable commodities, whatever. It's the exchange of those things. And in the spirit. But the thing that gives you the life of your hand, the life that your hand gives you is the way it sounds to me. You know what I mean? The life that by following your works, your idols, your ways, not God's ways. And they don't see the hopelessness of their situation and are not grieved because they're carried away with the moment, the pleasure of the moment, the greediness of gain, like it says, for the iniquity of your covetousness was I wroth. You know what I mean? Because the idolatry, ultimately, people look to God from an early time in your life. A lot of times, our view of God is not sophisticated. We go to God to get things. I want something, God. Pray. We're taught to pray. Pray means to go, I pray thee. It means you go and you ask God for things. We teach from the very young age, we're taught to go ask God for things. And we give, and one of the reasons James says we don't receive what we ask for is because we ask that we may consume things after our own lust, that it's about covetousness, not about it's not an appropriate communication. And we're not really taught precisely. We're taught. I mean, from the beginning, we're taught the Lord's Prayer, right? But in addition to that, we're taught sort of like, bless mommy, bless daddy, and help me out with this, that, the other. Not that it's wrong to cast your cares upon the Lord. But it is the pursuit of that often leads people to idolatry. It is covetousness. I mean, it's that desire for things. You say, I'll go to the God of that thing, and he will make me rich. And in some way, like, I want to make fortunes in foreclosures. So I'll go to the God of foreclosures, and he will show me how to make money doing that, and I'll pour my soul into it, because you have to. If you want to be rich, you better work at it. You better work your fingers to the bone, and that will be your life. It's the life of your hand. And when you think sometimes when, men find satisfaction in that. And sometimes, of course, this is whorishness it's talking about. But I'm just saying, what's the most, where does I love to work and to do things, and God has called us to labor and to work, and those are all good things. But again, there's a line, where, what are you working on? What are you doing there? We're trying to develop. No, never mind. I'm not going to go into that. I was going to make a comparison to we're going to try to develop new viruses or something like that, but that really is irrelevant there. I'm just saying that whatever we allow to occupy God's place, it's the life that it's the life of this world. It's the life that our hands give us and bring us. It's a sinful life. But at the moment, it can seem good, and they don't realize, and that the reason she says there is no hope, because she doesn't really understand the consequences of it. He knew they did not understand, because that doesn't mean God will forgive them, but it's like, as a human, he could pity that. Oftentimes as humans, we do pity other humans in ways that God will not. We have more feeling, and it doesn't seem right to us, because we have a lot of empathy for each other. And even Christ in that way, he said, forgive them, for they know not what they do. But the wisdom which God hath hid from the princes of this world that Paul talked about in 1 Corinthians 2. Did I forget already again? We went through all the trouble of looking. That's why I don't even bother. Because it's like, I won't remember. I've never been big about the addresses. I was, and then I realized I had associating the numbers with the words was not something I was going to take a lot of time doing. Yeah, it is chapter 2, isn't it? It's about in the middle. Seems like, yeah, sure. It's actually pretty early in it, right? 1 Corinthians chapter 2. That wisdom which none of the princes of this world knew, for had they known it, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. They wouldn't have done it. I dwell in the high and holy place, with him also that is of a contrite and humble spirit, to revive the spirit of the humble, and to revive the heart of the contrite ones. If we trust in him, we can possess the land and inherit in God's mountain, right? And he's saying, these are the people that are going to come forth and say, hey, get things ready. And he's saying, these are the people that dwell with me. I dwell in a high and holy place. I dwell in a place that is separate and pure. That is where I exist. And who exists there with me? Because he inhabits eternity. This is God. This is how God has always been and always will be. He inhabits eternity. I wonder if that's, I love the way the King James translates that, but I'm so tempted to just, because of my tendency to be that way, which is, I don't know what you want to call it, contrary, or I just want to see if they butcher it or better it. I mean, I don't think they're going to better it as far as the quality of the whatchamacallit, the actual words, but in terms of the poetic beauty of it, they're going to ruin it. Let's see. Build up, prepare the road. Cast you up. Okay, I guess I missed out on that one. Cast you up is like make a highway. I get it, yeah. Remove obstacles. See, I translated it based on the context, but I'm sure they're probably right about that. Build up. Remove obstacles. Make high and exalted one says actions. But I'm not sure what the English definition of the word precisely is. Like, if you asked me to, I guess I did an okay job there, but all right, hold on a second. There we go. All right, I just want to go back to the King James here. Verse 15, contrite. Well, they apparently translated it correctly. I'm just curious what the idea of contrition is. Adjective, noun, masculine. Okay. From crushed, literally powder or figuratively contrite. Okay, so it has those who are crushed in spirit. Interesting. Such as be contrite. You see on the right hand here. Did I not have that? Oh, there we go. It's got to be like this. Like this. Oh, there we go. Sorry, we got... Boy, the New American Standard was kind of inconsistent on that. Man to destruction and sayest... Psalm 9. So it is used as destruction also. Interesting. Okay, let's go back. Pew. 1 second. Oh. Him to revive the heart. So contrite, humble, to revive the spirit of the humble, and revive the heart of the contrite ones. God always associates himself, as far as for men, one thing God appreciates to see in men is humility and contrition. Contrition is, like I said, he sees us as weighted down with sins. We should be saying, there is no hope, Lord. You know what I mean? When we look at our natural state, when we look at man in his natural state, we should say to ourselves, we are hopeless, we are lost. Those should be the reaction. And the weight of that should crush us and make us humble. I mean, we still have to go on living, but in a sense of like, keep us from crushed. Think of it in terms of keeping ourselves from being exalted above our measure, okay? To understand our nature and to humbly go about, to see reality. Or when confronted with reality, that should be our reaction. I got to change this other screen because every time I gesture out of the corner of my eye, I see a little bit of infinity pass before my eyes. There we go. Okay, so that's what pleases God. Humility is, without that, like I said, when confronted with the truth, a lot of times we're blind and we're just fools. All right? But even so, among those who have not been yet called, when I see someone with humility, I feel that, Lord, why not them? Especially. Because there are those who are truly wicked. There are those who are truly wicked who have no sense of, that was one of the things about David. You read things like Psalm 51, after Nathan the prophet came to him after he was confronted with his sin, his reaction. Very beautiful. I have a song for that on my website, oraclesofgod.org. Just go to the songs page. It's I think it's listed under the album called Like a Hammer, but I think I used to have an index that was just by the scripture. I forget, but it's not hard to find. There aren't that many songs. Psalm 51. And then, he was truly humbled before the Lord because of what he'd done. We can be humble and be given many things, responsibilities, power, gifts. And when he speaks of reviving the Spirit, that's all that into that weight, because there is no hope for man. Except that God should do something, obviously, which he has done with his Son. And with the covenant he gave Israel at that time, there was something, but they completely abandoned the covenant. They went after idol. They'd done all these things. And they should have said to themselves, there's no hope. We've completely abandoned God. Well, no, some yes, but the point is I don't think our government is run by atheists, by people who are Richard Dawkins, thoughtful atheists who have podcasts and stuff. Those people, however amusing they may be, the atheists are the sort of just the fools that say in their heart, there is no God, I'll just do whatever I want. Those are the sort of fools we have in charge. And we will suffer because of it. Because that's how it goes. The worst part is we kind of let it happen. Not kind of, we certainly, the people are responsible for it. And even those who opposed it every step of the way will suffer for it. Hold on. Okay, even those who decided later on, oh, wait a second, I changed my mind. You know what I mean? I turned from the idols. We should, I heard the words of the prophet, for the spirit should fail before me and the souls which I have made. The Lord is not going to be content. The whole controversy that God has in the earth, in the status quo as we have known it our entire existence, is not going to go forever. And to me, that is the contending forever. There's something about, also, I don't know. I do like to take it to the ultimate. There are also, near term effects. They are restored to their land from the Babylonian captivity. That God no longer is contending with Israel, but has brought peace to the land again. Consummation. It's not just that there has to be an end game. There is an end game. And because God does not intend to always be raw, to be showing the things he is wrathful against. Because God put into the world, through the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, things that bring the wrath of God. That is what he put in the world. And that is the contention. And so we are exposed to these things. And in the end, whatever that we are exposed to good and evil, and through the blood of Christ, we become the sons of God through adoption. God is going to, we will pass from death to life. The wrath of God will pass over us the way the death angel passed over the children of Israel in the land of Egypt. And we will live forever. And God will not contend with us, but we will be at peace with God, and we will dwell with God forever in the high and holy place. And this, if God was to let it, if God were to just continue the situation, what he's saying, like, just, I don't know what, it's a weird way to say it, for the spirit should fail before me and the souls which I have made. It sounds to me like something would go, the plan is not to just keep going on and on and on. I mean, spirits would fail. That's the thing. It's like, I don't know, is 10,000 years from now someone going to be listening to the sound of my voice and saying, like, we're still waiting for the Lord? Will they still be able to hang on? I don't know. Maybe they will. I tend to think they would if the Lord, otherwise, but I don't know. He's saying, no, it should. What he's saying is, whatever we want to think about it, I don't think there's any, like, natural consequence. Well, maybe there is. He set it up in such a way that if he lets it go on, it will as the good that he intended to do. So I say, like, because all of this, there is a good thing that God is doing. Because that's all God does, is good things. I've studied programming a bit, I think about, when you make a game, when you have a game and you're controlling your thing, and then there's the enemies that come after you. And, it's not meant to be light or blasphemous, but, sometimes I think that life is just a very, very complicated version of that. And the end is to create sons of God. That's what you win. That's what you win. So it's a prize worth having, if you ask me. And so God says here, for the iniquity of his covetousness was I wroth. I smote him and smote him. I was wroth and I smote him. I hid me and was wroth. And he went on forwardly in the way of his heart. God brings, as I said, God brings these things upon them. As the evil even starts coming upon them, they don't turn to God because he hides himself. He doesn't come and say, like, hey, I'm trying to get your attention here. What are you doing? So God is not pleased with the covetousness. Like I said, a lot of the things, idolatry, the root sin of it is covetousness. Like I said about gods and all that. And when, I got caught stealing once. When I was like 12, I got the belt for it, That's what happens. It's a sin. And so God, when men do these things like en masse, when there's another kind of covetousness, just greed. Greed is good. They say, yeah, well, yeah. We'll sell the government millions of shots they don't need for people who will not get sick. Frowardly. That's a word I used to not understand the meaning of. And there's no point in looking it up. Really, it's fine. You've heard of to-word and froward. To and fro. The froward is just the opposite of to-word. It means away. So he went on frowardly in the way of stars, meaning in the opposite way of what God wanted. Yeah, because a lot of times people read that forwardly. It's froward. And it's the word fro, like to and fro. We don't really use, we don't use froward, but we do use fro. We still have it, so everyone knows what to and fro means, and so we know what froward means. In the way of his heart. So he went on in his way. In spite of God's correction, because God's correction is not, that wasn't really God. It's just not really, it's not a punishment. It's not it's not a chastisement. It's just something, I don't know, but it wasn't God. I'll just keep going on and the way I was going. And that speaks of when he says him, he means Jacob, the nation. You know what I mean? So in spite of being punished, they just keep going. And here's the thing, that is, if you think about it in a national sense, take heart, because despite the fact of being led astray and the whole nation going that way, God may yet heal. You know? As he healed Jacob, and in spite of Jacob's foolishness, in spite of them not taking the punishment in the way it should have been taken, the chastisement, despite them not being so foolish, he says, no, I will heal him, I will lead him, and restore comfort to him and to his mourners. And to me, in that sense, it is for the sake of the contrite and the humble ones who pray for Jacob, who long for peace, who obey the word of the Lord. You know, when he was set to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, Abraham asked the angel of the Lord, hey, what if you find, 50 righteous men? I forgot the exact numbers. Will you destroy the city? No, I won't. And so he got down to a small number, 10, 1, apparently for 10 he wouldn't destroy the city, but he only found Lot as a just man. And again, I put quotes around that. He was a just man. He was a good fellow. Like a lot of people they're not perfect, but they're good people, right? That whole city was taken away into evil. But in a city where in our nation, I think we've got a lot more than 10 righteous men. And so our nation can be healed for sure. We just have to turn away from our foolishness and our evil. That's a hard thing to do, though, because that's cultural. And they're not about to stop being wicked. So I don't know. But as far as Jacob, the promise is sure. As far as as far as we, the church, as grafted in with Israel and the promises of God, we know the church will be healed. The church is, remember, also, again, the great horror is the great apostasy. And you have to be in the faith somehow to become an apostate, in some way. Hold on. It doesn't mean you're a true believer, but it does mean you're part of the faith. And I think all true believers can agree that, and not true believers can agree, that in the faith we have a number of people who are not really true believers. We have to varying, because it's not all or nothing. There's a spectrum. It's like I always thought of myself as like early in my life I was a true believer, but much less so than I am now. I'm much more a true believer now. I actually believe things have happened to me. So there you go. When you actually start believing, maybe I'm just crazy as far as you're concerned, but if I'm crazy, I don't know I'm crazy, see? No, I don't. So what's the difference? There is no difference. Well, there is a difference, but you can't tell from inside. You know what I mean? Someone from outside could perhaps try to tell you, and you could try to listen. I've tried to listen, but I just don't think it's far too clear-headed a thing that happened to me, so. So God promises to heal our wounds. There will be an apostasy. There already is an apostasy. There's apostasy everywhere you look. But not in the sense that I think, I had friends that say, it's already happened, the apostasy. I'm like, I get it. But I think it's going to be much more explicit. Because Christ is in heaven. Everyone's praying to Christ in heaven. We all got Christ in the right general place. I mean? Everyone thinks he's up there as far as all Christians who believe. But when he's on earth, or when Satan's on earth, when the Antichrist is present, and they all worship him as Christ, but he's still up, seated at the right hand of God, that's characteristically different. There's something much more explicit about that, which I think is the big difference. That is the true apostasy, in my opinion, of the end times. That it becomes very explicit. And the state that exists now is why, the fact that they say it's already happened tells you it's ready to be, it's just ready to completely fall. It's just an edifice at this point of Christianity. They say a third of the world is Christian, and there's a lot of thirds being destroyed in the book of Revelation. And Arnold Murray used to say that was deceived. Maybe he's right. On that one, as far as symbolic interpretations, everyone's got a right to have an opinion on that as far as I'm concerned. As long as it's taken the proper, you take it with the proper amount of salt, just like I would say anyone should take with things that I say as far as prophecy. Okay. It is nice to have the promise of God to lead us, because we don't know the way we ought to go. We're blind in many ways. We don't. Even if we see Christ, as far as this, we see the light of the gospel. Even in that, I don't know, in our life, it's easy enough to say, I know how to follow Christ, but I'm not, beyond that. That's a question for me. But for all of us, we like to have the full leading of God. I do trust that God is leading me. But the fact that sometimes I do things that I know are wrong, I sin from time to time, that makes me know that I'm not always doing what God, that I'm not fully led of God. I need to be led of God better. If I was fully led of God, I'd have nothing that I regretted doing. You know what I mean? So he leads me. Excuse me. But on some level, he allows us a bit of leash, so to speak. He's not leading, just like he hides himself. It's not, the leash is invisible. There is no leash. He's just showing the way. I will lead you in all your way. There he is showing. And when it comes to right and wrong, we know what to do. And it's like, I think that if I knew I was always doing right, I would trust that all my other decisions that had not to do with right and wrong were also good decisions. Or at least that nothing, I would fear that nothing bad would come of it due to uncertainty about maybe whether or not I needed to have a change of course. It's because changes of course can be quite disturbing. If you think you're going the right way and then suddenly the Lord shows you must go a different way, that can be hard. But he promises peace. And I think that, I do think that when I know I'm being led of God, when I'm aware of it and I'm conscious of it, it does make the things I must endure more peaceable to me. I create the fruit of the lips, peace. I create the fruit of the lips. Interesting. That just right there. I create the fruit of the lips. It just, right there, it's just kind of an interesting thing to interject. But peace is something that is, I know they often say he shall speak peace to the heathen. And peace is something that has to be spoken and declared in a sense. Or that when it is declared, especially by, God, who is able to make war, able to bring, all the kingdoms of the world to their knees. And then he turns and says, peace, peace. He will heal. That's one thing that is promised, is that after the end of all the things, when God pours out, that the world is going to be healed. And that he will bring about peace. His kingdom is supposed to be a kingdom of peace. And I do believe in that kingdom which exists in the world, meaning in the millennium, and not just the one that is sort of the eternal Jerusalem, as it is written, coming down from God out of heaven after those events. Some people, whether you have the millennial, the amillennial view, I suppose if you have an amillennial view, you just sort of compress everything or whatever. I don't know. But I prefer, the nice part is it's really not that critical as long as you get the point up to that point right, as far as you understand what must occur first. Because Satan will usher in a kingdom that also seems to be peaceful. It will seem to be bringing peace, or at least to many people, as it will be oppressing. I mean, right now there's no war, but the world is not exactly at peace. The fruit of the lips, I guess I assume, like when I hear that, to me that's just words. Words are the fruit of the lips. I create words. But the words that God speaks bring things into reality. When God says peace, we can have peace far and near. That reminds me of when he talked to Cornelius the centurion. When Peter spoke with him, and we covered that scripture the other day. But the same idea, that those who hear God, and fear him, that God is no respecter of persons and receives those people. As far as he's willing to receive them, certainly, he will not exclude them. He will send the gospel to be preached to them like he did through Peter. But the wicked are like the troubled sea when it cannot rest. There's no peace there. God gives us words that give us peace and bring us to a place of peace, spiritually, in spite of the trouble. Jesus had Peter on the troubled sea. Actually, let's say all the disciples. Jesus was sleeping in the boat. He was at peace. And the ship was tossed, and the disciples were like, don't you care that we're perishing? And he gets up and rebukes the wind. And it's interesting that the wicked are like the troubled sea, that thing which is tossed and turned. They can't rest. But you notice when Jesus was on the earth, he rested in the midst of all that turmoil. Well, there's no danger of them being stolen or corrupted. But the wicked have no peace. They cannot rest. Waters cast up mire and dirt. And what is that symbolic of? As opposed to, I see the toss and the turmoil. But sometimes in their life, it's not like that. It's not about a picture of their life is all crazy and ours is all peaceful. Because like I said, you can still have a crazy life, but have the inner peace of God. To me, also, there's the nature that being falsely, like it says, they don't say in their heart there is no hope. And they're not grieved. But still, what did it say about her? She, what was the... What was the particular thing I wanted to get? Oh, thou art wearied in the greatness of thy way. That wasn't it. Well, I'm just going to go back. But basically the idea is that We have peace in spite of the circumstances around us, or we can, through God's Spirit. He creates the fruit of the lips, which is the Word. The Lord Jesus is the Word of God, And having Him in us gives us peace, And whether we be far off from the Commonwealth of Israel or near, that's how the gospel was preached. And He offers us healing and restoration. He likes humility. Those who come to Him in humility and look to Him in contrition for their sins. But the wicked have this not. And so, even when all around them is peaceful, they're never truly at rest, but filled with covetousness and looking to gain more, looking to consume more, looking to possess more. That's why it's never at rest like the troubled sea. They're always, even if they're like, because like she's wearied in the greatness of her way. I'm making so much money. Is so much all my money on pornography and stuff. Or they're hot. Go down to the strip club and stuff my money in someone's thing or whatever. Or whatever. Or just the thing itself. My success, my business, my this, my that. Whatever it is, I'm so agitated constantly to make it happen. I'm passionate about this thing I'm building in this world and not mindful of God. Because you can still build things and be mindful of God. David built a kingdom, Solomon built a temple, but when he took on too many strange wives, he fell to idolatry, actually. So, at least externally, and again, that's the thing. It's like I don't think Solomon was like, there's no God or anything like that. He was just like, this is how you worship your God, huh?